Hey guys, I know I said I'd talk about Prisma's full stack React boilerplate, and I did want to check that out today, but I ended up actually venturing into some other things that I want to share with you guys first, and then we'll get to full stack React tomorrow. So, first things first, yesterday I was kind of confused about what this endpoint thing it was. I was thinking we would like connect at least, so this is the server we set up, right? GraphQL server and stuff, and then we have this Prisma. I was thinking we send Prisma to a MySQL database, but I was just straight wrong about that. We actually send it to another server, and it's literally this server right here. So we're giving it the endpoint of our other server. And thanks to you guys in the comments too, you guys helped clarify this. There's actually two servers running. I didn't realize this. There's our server, and then there is the server that Prisma creates. And that's this thingy. So when you run Prisma deploy, it starts up this server that's running here. And basically there's two different GraphQL schemas being set up. The one that we have here, where you see feed, drafts, posts, this is ours. And then this thingy is going to basically create all the CRUD operations for you. And we can, so this is auto-generated, this guy, but all the stuff here we do ourselves. But see all the places where we make calls with this DB mutation, all that doesn't work unless our server is running right here, unless we've deployed it. And I'll show you guys that. So I have to do npm start to start up the local server, and that'll be running on localhost 4000. And now here I have my dev server, or the deployed one, and you notice it's off right now. So here is that, and notice we'll take a look at the network tab. We don't connect to a database or anything, we actually make it our network call. So if I run this, you'll notice, hey, and we see the network call right here, and even tells us you try to make a request to hello3dev, which is this guy over here, and it's down. Sorry, we can't create the draft for you. So every time we see this DB mutation, we're actually just making a call to Prisma's server. So that's kind of interesting. I didn't realize that. So we're actually running two servers. So when we do Prisma deploy, we've only really deployed one server. We also need to deploy our own server. I was thinking it was like bundling them together or something. I was still pretty confused, but now I realize we have to actually deploy this kid all by ourselves. Prisma only takes care of deploying its own server, which is kind of interesting. So second thing is, and I'm going to turn this kid off, this doesn't matter anymore. I figured out what, at least, I mean, I didn't figure it out, but I just disabled auth in my prisma.yaml. So I'm going to show you guys the other server. So I'm just going to say Prisma deploy and get that started up. I think, so my cluster's off right now, the cluster has the startup, I'll let that start up. But this was swapped. I think we have to run like Prisma token or something to create a token to then get this working. So for now I just did disable auth and just not worry about authentication, so I could actually take a look at what this other server looked like, because last time I was blocked. But yeah, so this, and I don't know if it'll let us because I just turned this off. Okay, cool. Well, notice how right here, this is only the things, queries and mutations. Those are all in our schema.graphql. They didn't create anything for us at all. Nothing is created on our own server. But this other server, which we're deploying to, is. Okay, so it is up to date and it's deployed. So we can take a look over here. So this kid, take a look at him. Now he has all these things. All this is auto-generated. So we can't actually touch how the mutations and queries work over here. This is just all auto-generated. And then we can access them from our own server if we want to by calling this update post, delete post. And this is where we're able to, hey, if we want to front run create post, or in the back change what's happening before or after we do one of the mutations, we can, right? Because I could, I don't know, whatever you wanted to do before. So that's how you have access. So now this thingy we can access ourselves if we want to just hit over here, or we can access it from our other server indirectly. But this is kind of interesting how this stuff works. So I created one post. Let's see if it's there. Okay, I actually created two posts. So this is the other thing. So I was playing around with remember how yesterday I was talking about migrations and whether you can auto migrate, and how unfortunate that is, but also very nice for development. It looks like there is a way to migrate regularly. So take a look at this. This is one of their docs. You can add a temporary directive, or basically you can migrate stuff. So here's them renaming a column. Now they don't show all the other temporary directives, so I'm not sure where you can find those, if there's other ones you can run besides rename. But yeah, so there's that. So I was just playing around with this and kind of wanted to get a feel for how it worked. So let's say we want to add a column to this, like public, and this is going to be Boolean. Now if we add a bang sign, it's kind of interesting because that means there has to be a for example, it has to be a public, right? But what's going to happen, because I already created 2 posts, so what's the value of public going to be, right? And they actually default some stuff for you, because look, you notice no problem, nothing broke. It created the field public of type Boolean in the database for us, and it's running over here. So if I refresh, I can now say public, and we can see what the value of it is. So by default, Boolean is false. So this is something they just added for us. Now this gets kind of interesting. So I was like, all right, that's kind of cool. So what happens if I have like a field where like a default value is not like easy for them to do? So let's say if I want to create like a pot type. I don't know, I just created a random thing. Actually, you know what? Let's be on theme with these posts. Let's say we want to have an author, which is an author here. And I say you have to have an author for a post. And I say author, and I say name. And it has to be a string. And here we have to have an age, which is an int. Alright, so we have this other data type, which is now related to post, right? Because we have this author is inside of a post. And how are they going to default this for us? Right? So if I say Prisma deploy, it's going to go ahead and run the changes. So anytime I change this, I have to redeploy. And I'll notice it'll spit out all the things that it just changed. So it created some stuff. And notice how I didn't even specify ID or updated at, created at. It just auto adds that. That's pretty nice. I like that. But then it created a new relation between these two guys. But basically it syncs up this. So it auto migrated that stuff. But we'll show you guys how to use the I'll show you how to do the manual migration too, at least the semi-manual. So now, what happens if I run... sorry, my recording software just crapped out on me, but what I wanted to try was author, because I now have these posts in here. So what is the value of author going to be? We have an age and a name field, and if I run this, cannot return null for non-nullable. So it couldn't default author for us. So basically it corrupted those 2 items. Because in the database, they are null. Well, I don't know if it actually corrupted the database itself, but we have a problem, right? Because author is now null, but it can't be null because we told it can't be null here. So we need to set it like to get around this, right? You can set a default value up there ourselves. But I thought that was kind of interesting, just playing around with it. And of course, we can fix all of this by just deleting it. And now it will sync up again. So if I say clear, and I say, I don't want to stop, I want to deploy you. If I redeploy, we'll notice it actually deletes all those fields, and we come back into parity again. So it deletes all this stuff. So I actually do like that it does just delete that stuff for you when you're all done. So now I'm going to refresh. And now we'll see some errors because these fields no longer exist. And we're fine again. So interesting. I like how fast it is to add and delete fields and how things are just auto added. That's really nice. And I like that they're trying to give us some control of what we can. So notice I want to rename this kid to text. So we see text here, T2, T2 for both of them. If I want this kid, instead of being text, to be, I don't know, Bob. Like if you just want to totally rename this. I think, I forgot what it was called. I think it was rename. Old name is equal to, and then you say what the old name was. So it used to be called text. Let's make sure I actually did that right. not an equal sign though. There we go. So rename, and then we specify the old name. Good. So now text will rename, or text is now going to be Bob. Oops, forgot to deploy. So deploy that guy. Okay, and so now we no longer have text, we have Bob, which should be T2 for both. So that's how you would rename your field. And there's some other migration things, which I guess we'll see if there's any docs come out about that, or if I'm just missing it, I'll take a look, see if there's any place else. But kind of interesting, as you update your posts here, be mindful if you're calling it from your own server over here that stuff does not keep up to date, right? So if I rename that thing from, like, it might not be called delete post anymore with this mutation. So got to be careful about that. Just making sure you keep it up to sync, because it's going to be automatically synced up here, but the GraphQL is going to change itself. But I don't really like that this is running in two different servers. I kind of see, so this is actually just like PostGraphQL now, but basically they have PostGraphQL is this thing, and it's running on this port. So this is basically a PostGraphQL server, and they basically just made a utility to access the PostGraphQL server from your own server. So now I'm creating two servers. This kid over here, he accesses that. It's fine. I'm not in love with this idea of having to have two servers. What I think I would have preferred is if there's some way to merge them into one server, and then I can point this to my. I like the idea of being controlled and I like the idea of having control of my own MySQL database. And that way I can do things the way I want to have it set up, and I don't like that it's on one hand it's nice that they have it pre-built right with Docker, and I already, like, you saw how fast it was to deploy that server. I did nothing, and we have this full-blown server right here that's production ready, I believe. I haven't checked, but I assume it's production ready. You might have to do like run prod, but other than that, it's much faster than setting your own thing up. But I think I'd rather have the control, or at least the option of control. So I'd like to see if Prisma gives you an option to, instead pointing at this, if we could point at it like a database, but I don't think it's built like that. But that would be a cool thing. Yeah, so that was just some things I discovered today. I'm going to be trying out React tomorrow, or at least React with the boilerplate of Prisma, and see what it's like, what they give you out of the box. I'm curious to see if it's server side rendering, or if they literally just have a React application that talks to a this Prisma backend, which might be the case, which we'll see. That's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching.